morning, guys. Welcome to Math Models Week 3. We're going to be talking a little bit about money management, which is something that we've kind of talked about for a while. We've been building up to it. We talked about getting a job, and we talked about our paychecks, and then we touched a little bit on taxes, not as much as I would have in class, but I don't think you're going to be as scared or confused about it as you might have been had we not gotten to at least talk about it. So today we're going to talk about what happens after you get your paycheck, your taxes are gone, and it's time to spend the money. Yeah, time to spend the money. Okay, so I want you to, first of all, before you start the slideshow, after I finish talking here, I would like you to get a sheet of paper, and I would like for you to write this on it. Hold on just a second while I get it on here. And let's see. Here we go. Products and purchase. Okay? So after I finish talking, I want you to pause this video and I want you to write this on some paper. And then I want you to brainstorm for like 2 or 3 minutes, and you can ask anybody in your household or friends or whatever if you're online with them, what this means. Okay, you can, you're going to fill this out. And basically it's going to be things like, oh, groceries. I can buy those online or at the store. Okay. Products, let's see, music. I can buy them at the store, online, or I can stream them. Stream the music. So there are 2 or 3 ways to do it, okay? So I want you to come up with like 4 or 5 ways. Let's see, I've given you 2. So why don't you come up with 4 more of those, okay? Just on your paper. And I'm going to ask you to just take a picture of it and send it to me. Okay, you've been doing that really well, so I like that. So take a picture of it, send it to me, okay? So products and purchase. What can you buy? And you can brainstorm. It doesn't have to be something that you buy. Maybe you're talking about cars or houses or whatever. Just write it down. Okay? Okay, now let's go ahead and start the slideshow because this is pretty important stuff. So if I can get it, if I can figure out how to get there, we'll go. Okay, here we go. Here is the first slide. It just is financial services. We're going to be talking about caring for your cash. And we're going to talk about primarily different ways to spend, but first we're going to start out with checking accounts. Okay, this is like what I want you to, what you're working on. This is the different ways you can shop and pay for music. And we're going to talk about this. Why should I pay with a check? How do I use a checking account? How do I keep track of how much money I have in my checking account? So let's talk about checking accounts. You may not have a checking account yet, and that's okay. Okay? You might not have one yet. And that's fine because there are some alternatives to checking accounts that you may have for the money you earn. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple of things. Look at that. Brianna is the name. That doesn't look like our Brianna, but it's a Brianna. Meet Jason and Brianna. Jason has a checking account and a debit card. He is pursuing a career in law enforcement. That means police work. He is also considering joining the Coast Guard. That's sort of like police on the water. That's kind of neat. Brianna is only a freshman, and she's starting a new job. She doesn't have a bank account yet and gets most of her income from the bank of mom and dad. So most of her money comes from mom and dad, and that's fine too. Her main job is school right now, so that's okay. She likes to receive gift cards for gifts. Now, look at this word up here at the front, demand deposits. Okay, now that sounds really, really angry. All it means is that when you pay in certain ways, you're making a demand on your deposit. You're saying, hey, my money's in that bank. I need the money now. Okay? But you're being nice about it. You're not demanding it. You're just saying the money is on demand. It's ready for you. It's sitting there. You can go into the bank and say, hey, give me $20. If you have an account, and if there's $20 in your account, that teller will give it to you. That's what we call a person that works at a bank teller. You can't just go into any bank and say, give me $20. So if you don't have an account, they'll call you a robber. So don't do that. Okay. You can also go up to the ATM, slide your card in, and put in how many dollars you want out, and you'll get your money. You can also send money online from your deposit from your bank account, and that would be like Zelle or PayMe or some of those other apps. But automatically that money moves. It leaves your checking account and ends up in your hands or in the hands of the person you're paying or something like that. You can pay by phone. You can call your bank and say, I need this money sent to this person. They can do what we call wire money to you, or wire money to a friend, like in another country or something. You can write a check. And if you write a check, it's really important that you know how much money is in your bank account. Because if you write a check and you don't have enough money in that account, that check's going to be bouncing. They call it bouncing. Bounce a check. It means there's no money in it to cover the check. And that can get you into a lot of trouble and cost you a lot of fees. So try to avoid that, okay? Sometimes you'll also hear people say it's a hot check, meaning it's not a good check. A debit card. You all are probably familiar with debit cards. You can use those to pay for goods and services. You can order stuff online. It looks like a credit card, but the money comes out of your account almost immediately. These are parts of a check. They're pretty similar to the parts of a payroll check. Number 1 is the date. You would write in the date. Number 2 is who you're paying the check to. Notice there's a long line on number 2 that they've drawn. That's so nobody can add additional things in it. Like if I said, write Brianna a check. Brianna Reeves to pay to the order of Brianna. And then let's say somebody from another class came in and tried to write their name in and put their name in there too. That would be wrong. It's illegal. But if I draw that line there, then they can't actually add that name. Number 3 is the amount written in numbers. Number 4 is the amount written in words. That's to make sure you didn't make a mistake in writing it in numbers, okay? They can double check, see what you meant. Number 5 is a memo line. You don't have to fill that in. It's totally optional, but it's a good idea just to remind you, what did you spend your money on? Number 6 is where you sign your check, your signature. That's where learning a little bit of cursive is important, okay, so you can have a signature. Number 7 is going to be the routing number. The routing number tells the bank that when you give the check to somebody, it tells their bank which bank your money is in. So it's a number that is totally dedicated to a certain bank. Okay, so like in Wells Fargo, it's 100. Let's see, 111-900-659, and that says it's a Houston, Texas, or a Texas Wells Fargo. So the middle number 8 is your bank account number. It's a 10-digit number generally, unique to your bank, your money, okay, unique to your name. And number 9 is the check number. Notice that number 9 appears on the bottom of the check and also in the upper right-hand corner. That identifies the check number and helps you trace that check if you lose it, or if somebody takes it, or if you can't remember who you pay it to. Check writing basics. There we go. Take a look at that. This is what a check looks like. These are different ones. Some they've written to schools, some to apartments for rent. Here's one for a charitable donation. Notice in the memo it says donation. It's a good idea to take care of those because if you write donation in there, it means that you might be able to deduct that off your taxes. So keep track of that. Okay, make the deposit. Here's a deposit slip. It has different parts on it. It's pretty self-explanatory. You say which account you want it in, checking or savings. You put the date, your name, your address. You can sign it if you keep any money back. Let's say Let's say a friend of yours writes you a check for $50 for your birthday. Wow, that's a pretty good friend, huh? Okay, so they write you a check for $50, and you say, that's great, I want to save 40 of it, but 10 of it I just want to go out and have some lunch or get some ice cream or something like that. So you would put the check amount of $50, and then it asks you less cash. Less cash means subtract the cash out, and they give you the $10 and put the other 40 in your account. That's pretty cool. Here's the date. Here's the name. The signature, you only have to put it, remember, when you're taking cash out of your deposit. There's your account number. They'll ask you to put your account number in those little boxes. Here's a check for $147.58 that you have received, and you're going to put in the bank. There it is. Maybe you want some cash out. You do. You want $25 out. And then this is the amount you're actually going to deposit, $122.58. Endorsements. When somebody gives you a check, you have to sign the back of it, okay? Now, you can sign it two ways. You can put your signature by itself, which means, okay, I'm ready for it to be cashed, and I might even sign it and give it to somebody else to be cashed, because that means I've turned it over to them. Or I can write deposit only. For deposit only, that means put it only in my account. Okay. Here are Jason's transactions. He has written it in his bank book or his bank ledger. He has spent money on his phone charger, his pizza, NSF. This means insufficient funds, non-sufficient funds. Means he wrote a hot check. He wrote a bad check. The check he wrote, he didn't have enough money in the bank, and the bank charged him $30 for it. It seems like a lot. It is, especially if you write a bunch of checks and you forget to put your check in from your job or something, and you've written a bunch of checks. They're going to charge you $30 each check. So then he bought food for $9. Then he had another non-sufficient funds fee. His school fee was $25, and his last insufficient fund fee was $30. Look at this. He ended up with a negative balance down here. I don't know if you can see that because I'm in the bottom corner, but the negative balance is negative $126. That's not good, folks. That's a lot of fees, and he could even get in trouble legally with that. So he needs to keep better track of his money. Now, if he'd done his math all along the way, maybe he would have done that, okay? He could have said he put in $200, and it looks like his bank balance was pretty much zero before that. Okay, so he put in $200, then he spent $20. And he subtracted the $20 from the $200 to get $180. Then he had $180, and he subtracted this to get this. And on down the road. It's all subtraction. This is why it gets to be important for you to learn these basic math skills and learn to use the functions on your calculator. If we're using this check ledger, which, by the way, we can also call a check register, okay, because we're registering our transactions in it. If you keep that up to date with every bit you put in and every bit you take out, you'll be good. Okay, you'll know how much money you've got. Then you won't have any kind of insufficient funds. Now, this is to balance Zoe's bucks. Okay, so we're trying to balance her checkbook. So we're looking through here. This part, let's look at the register. We haven't really talked about that. This is the transaction type. Dep is money she has deposited. Okay, this is DC. She has used a debit card or written a check. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. DC is debit card. I'm sorry. I messed up. My bad. Yeah, DC is debit card. She used her debit card for this. The check, when she uses a check, she writes down the check number and the date, who it's to, the amount. Very detailed information so that she can say, oh, on Saturday I went to the movie, I used my debit card for a ticket for $12, I used my debit card for theater food for $6.50. I guess that's what, one drink? I don't know. It's kind of expensive. Then she got to put some money in. She made a deposit, DEP, of $60. So all along the way, she's subtracting. Oh, then she gets to add some because she made money, so she's adding that in. Now, does it match? When she gets her monthly bank statement, she can look to see if it all matches up. That's the goal. If she has some deposits that haven't shown up on her statement yet, or she has some outstanding payments with her debit card or her checks, we have to make sure they equal. So we're going to track it in the register and see if they equal. And here are some hints to find some math errors. You're going to subtract it if there's a difference. Does the difference match a transaction amount? If your bank says you have $12 less than you think you have, maybe you forgot to write down that $12 movie ticket. So look for a missing entry. Search for 2 entries for the same amount. Maybe the bank accidentally charged you twice for it. Okay? Or maybe you show that you have less money than the bank says. Maybe you've written it in twice. So look for those math errors. You can always check your amounts on your bank statement once you take out anything that's pending against what your register says. And if there's a difference of 1, 10, 100, or 1,000, look for addition or subtraction errors. Even using a calculator, you might have hit the wrong button, okay? And is it divisible by 9? If the number is divisible by 9, let's say the difference is let's say it's $18. The difference is $18. Well, I can divide it by 9. So I'm going to look to see if I accidentally switched 2 numbers. We call it transposing numbers. Like instead of 125, we write 152. We switch those around in our brains and it comes out on our register. It happens. So the challenge is to use a checking account, track your checking account payments and deposits for 2 months, reconcile it at the end. We're not really going to do that because we don't have a way to set up a simulated checking account here. I would do that at school. What I would like you to do, we'll talk about this. I'd like you to write down on this sheet of paper that we did earlier, this one. Let me see if I can get to it again. This. I would also like you then, once you write this down, your preferred method of payment. How do you like to pay? Do you think you'd like to pay with a check? Or do you think you'd like to pay with cash? Or do you think you'd like to pay with your debit card? Okay, so write that down and tell me why. Which one of those ways do you want to pay and why? Okay, we've got, here it is right here, the assignment. What is your preferred method of payment? Check, debit card, cash, and why? Okay, and that concludes our lesson. So you've got, let's see here. Let me get back up here. There I am. There I am. Okay, so we've watched the video or the PowerPoint. Okay, we've talked about parts of a check. We've talked about using a check and recording it in your check register. And your assignment has 3 parts. The first part is this: products and how you purchase them. Okay, I've written 2, 4 or 5 more. Okay, that's your first part. Number 1. Number 2 is how do you like to pay for things? I know this seems silly because you're saying nobody writes a check anymore. But some places only take checks. I know. Crazy. Organizations. I'm a member of the Arlington High School Alumni Association because I graduated from there. And every year I want to pay my dues and I want to buy my t-shirt with cash or my debit card. And they always say, we only take a check. Okay, I'll write out a check. So I have to go find my checkbook because I don't use it very often. So my preferred method of payment, my personal one, is debit card. I like to use a debit card. I like it better than cash because it keeps a record of it. And if I lose my debit card from the bank, I can get it replaced. So number 2 is, what is your preferred method of payment and why? Oh, why? And why? And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to ask someone else. You can do it in your family. You can do it in a chat room with your friends. You can ask to meet me in Zoom and ask me. But what I want you to ask them is if they've had a checking account and their experiences with paying the fees on a checking account. Okay? Interview about checking account. I'm going to make sure you have access to these questions in an assignment on Canvas. Okay, so you're going to interview someone about a checking account, but I'm going to write these things down on the assignment that accompanies this. Okay, so really, mainly for this week, you have these 3 things to do and watch this video. Okay, and I'd like you to really pay attention to it and give it some thought because soon y'all are going to be making money. I know some of you already have jobs. And you might have a bank account and how you're going to use that bank account smartly. Okay, so I will talk to you later. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing your assignments turned in.